The cold blackness of space stretched endlessly, dotted with sparkling stars and distant suns. Somewhere on the edge of the Korvax sector, a small starship named Elysius floated silently. Its sleek hull bore scratches and dents from a recent meteor storm. Inside, the Velorans, soft-skinned aliens with delicate limbs and translucent eyes, scrambled to control the damage. Their ship's systems were failing, alarms blaring as sparks flew from overloaded circuits. Leary, the Velaran captain, felt a surge of panic. Unlike many species, Velorans relied heavily on technology for survival. Their bodies were fragile, weak, compared to most spacefaring species. Without their machines, even simple tasks were difficult, and in extreme danger they were nearly helpless. "Emergency distress signal," Leary shouted, his voice trembling. The ship's communication officer, a nervous young Velaran named Iren, activated the distress beacon. A high-pitched signal spread into the void, repeating their coordinates and a plea for help. It would travel across light years, hoping that some friendly hand would respond. But the Korvax sector was not a crowded part of space. Most civilizations avoided it, calling it the Outer Wilds. Only the toughest species ventured here, and the Velarans never expected a rescue. They were, in a sense, alone. Far away on a planet known as Arkan 9, humans read the distress signal in the control room of their rugged starship, the Iron Viper. Arkan 9 was a death world, a planet of harsh conditions, deadly storms, and monstrous wildlife. Only the strongest could survive there. Its inhabitants, the Deathworlders, were legendary for their toughness, resilience, and ability to thrive where others could not. Captain Mara Kane leaned back in her chair, studying the incoming signal. Her dark eyes narrowed as she read the Velaran's coordinates. "A distress call? This far out," she said softly. Around her, her crew, hardened humans with scarred faces and powerful builds, exchanged cautious glances. Lieutenant Jax, her second-in-command, frowned. "Captain, these Velarans, they're fragile. We've read reports. They rely entirely on technology to survive. Sending us into a remote sector to save them might be a waste." Mara shook her head. "Sometimes it's not about what they can do. It's about what we can do. These guys are alive out there. We help them or we don't. That choice defines us." Without further argument, Mara ordered the ship to engage its engines and set course for the Velaran coordinates. The Iron Viper roared to life, its thrusters lighting up space as it sliced through the void. The crew prepared themselves for unknown dangers, knowing that the outer sectors were unpredictable. Meanwhile, on the Elysius, the Velarans were fighting to keep their ship from falling apart. Sparks shot across the corridors, smoke filled the cabins, and warning lights flickered red. "Leary," Irene cried, "the engines are offline." "We can't move. The shields won't last much longer." Leary's hands shook as he tapped on the control panel. He had studied other species in the galaxy, but the thought of sending a distress call to the Outer Wilds was almost hopeless. We have to wait. Maybe someone will come. Maybe someone strong enough." He whispered, "Strong enough." That was the key. The Velarans had always assumed that any rescuers would be cautious, gentle, and methodical. They never imagined what was about to arrive. Hours passed. Outside, space remained indifferent, vast, and cold. Inside the Elysius, the Velarans' hope waned with each passing minute. Then on their sensors, a blip appeared. A ship unlike any they had seen approached, large, heavily armored, and built for endurance rather than elegance. Leary stared in disbelief. The vessel bore the marks of a Deathworld species. The hull was reinforced, engines built for speed and maneuverability under extreme conditions. "What? Who?" he stammered. The Iron Viper's crew maneuvered carefully, scanning the fragile Velaran ship. Mara Kane's eyes softened as she studied the delicate aliens through the viewing screen. "These creatures are tiny. Fragile, but they need us. Let's see if we can get them out of this alive," she said. Even from afar, the contrast was clear. The Velarans, small and delicate, versus the Deathworlders, strong and battle-ready. Yet here was an undeniable truth. Strength came in many forms. The Velarans had advanced technology. The humans had raw resilience. Together, there might be a chance. The humans prepared boarding equipment, careful yet fast, knowing the Velarans' ship could collapse at any moment. Meanwhile, the Velarans braced themselves, eyes wide with fear and curiosity. They had never expected anyone like this to answer their call. Somewhere in the darkness of space, fate had begun to turn. The fragile Elysius had a chance at survival, And the humans from a death world were about to prove that courage, toughness, and quick thinking could make the impossible possible. Leary whispered to his crew, still uncertain but hopeful. Perhaps we are not as alone as we thought. The Iron Viper glided closer to the crippled Elysius, its engines humming steadily. From inside the Velaran ship, the alien crew watched with a mixture of fear and awe. They had never seen a species like this. Tall, broad-shouldered, and clearly built for survival in the harshest environments. Every movement of the humans radiated confidence, strength, and readiness for danger. Leary's fingers trembled as he activated the communication panel. "Unknown vessel. Who are you?" he called out in the Velaran language, hoping it would transmit. The response came almost immediately, translated into their tongue. "This is Captain Mara Kane of the human ship Iron Viper. We received your distress signal. We are here to help." The Velarans exchanged stunned looks. Help from humans? They had studied other species for centuries, yet the sheer physical presence of these Deathworlders was unlike anything they had ever imagined. Delicate Velarans like themselves relied on machines, not muscles. They had assumed any help would come in the form of drones, repair bots, or remotely controlled ships. Never like this. The human boarding party prepared to enter the Elysius. Mara Kane stepped forward, her boots clanging against the floor. Her crew followed in a disciplined line, carrying tools, repair kits, and protective gear. To the Velarans, their armor and survival equipment seemed almost terrifying. "Stay calm," Mara said, her voice firm but calm. "We're here to fix your ship and get you out of danger." "No sudden movements." Leary nodded cautiously, directing his crew to make room. The human team moved quickly, assessing the Elysius's damage. Sparks flew from broken panels, smoke curled from burnt circuits, and a faint smell of ozone filled the corridors. The Velarans flinched at each sound, unaccustomed to such direct physical repairs. Lieutenant Jax, Mara's second-in-command, examined the main control room. "These systems are failing fast. If we don't stabilize the reactors soon, the whole ship could collapse," he said. "Then we stabilize them," Mara replied. "Jax, you and Tori handle the reactor. I'll help with the navigation system. Everyone else check the hull and life support." The humans split into teams, moving with precision and strength. They lifted damaged panels that the Velarans could barely budge, rewired circuits in tight spaces, and patched hull breaches using techniques the fragile aliens would never have imagined. Larry and his crew watched, fascinated. The humans' approach was not elegant like the Velarans, but it was effective. Where the Velarans relied on delicate machinery, the humans relied on instinct, experience, and brute strength. They climbed through damaged sections of the ship as if it were a challenge course, handling sparks, smoke, and falling debris without hesitation. I don't understand," Irene whispered to Leary. "They are so strong, yet so careful. They could crush everything by accident, but they don't. They think while they act." Leary nodded slowly. "It isn't remarkable. Perhaps this is the reason some species fear humans across the galaxy. Not only their strength, but their control, their skill." Hours passed as the humans worked tirelessly. They reinforced the hull, repaired the engines, and restored critical systems. Slowly, the alarms stopped blaring. The Elysius began to hum with life again. The Velarans could hardly believe it. Where they had seen only failure and despair, the humans brought hope and survival. Finally, Mara Kane called out, "Reactor stabilized. Main systems online. Life support is fully functional. You'll be able to move your ship soon, but we'll need to stay with you for a while to make sure everything holds." The Velarans' eyes widened in gratitude. They had not expected anyone, not even a powerful species like humans, to respond so decisively. For the first time, they realized that strength could take many forms and that the universe was not limited to the safe and predictable. Leary stepped forward, his voice trembling slightly with emotion. We never expected help from anyone like you. You are remarkable." Mara smiled faintly. "We don't do this for praise. We do it because it's right. Everyone deserves a chance to survive." The humans began checking the exterior hull for any hidden damage, while the Velarans tentatively assisted, learning from their new allies. The teamwork was slow at first. Velarans were unaccustomed to physical labor. But soon, with guidance, they started to mimic human techniques, impressed by the results. Outside, the Iron Viper's sensors picked up distant debris from the meteor storm, drifting near the Elysius. Mara frowned. We can't stay here too long. We need to get you out before the D. Brisfield worsens. Lyrie nodded, determination replacing fear. We are ready to move thanks to you. For the first time in days, the Elysius crew felt hope. They were no longer alone in the cold void of space. Across the distance, a species they had never imagined. Humans, hardened by Deathworlds, had crossed the galaxy to save them. And somewhere deep inside, Lyrie wondered, perhaps survival was more than technology. Perhaps strength, courage, and quick thinking mattered just as much, if not more. As the humans and Velerans prepared to leave the safety of the debris field, the first steps toward a strange but promising alliance were made. The universe was vast and dangerous, but together, two very different species might just survive, and maybe even thrive. The Elysius shuddered under its own weight as the repaired system slowly hummed back to life. Lyrie moved cautiously through the corridors, observing the strange humans as they worked. Mara Kane's crew moved like shadows, efficient, confident, and completely unafraid of the damaged ship around them. I still don't understand how they do it, Irene muttered to Lyrie as they followed the humans along the main hallway. Sparks flew from exposed wires, yet no human even flinched. We would collapse in minutes if we tried their methods. Lyrie shook his head. They are different, stronger in ways we cannot measure. As the Velarans marveled at their rescuers, a new alarm blared throughout the Elysius. Red lights flashed across the panels, accompanied by a deep, thrumming sound. Lyrie's heart sank. What is it now? Jax, the human engineer, appeared at the doorway with a grim expression. We've got company. Scans show small, unmanned boarding drones approaching. They're after your energy core. The Velerans froze. They had never imagined a threat like this. Their energy core was rare, valuable, and dangerous if mishandled. It powered their ship, kept life support running, and contained energy that could be weaponized. To the Velarans, losing it would mean death. Mara Kane's eyes narrowed. They want your core. They won't care about your lives. We stopped them here. Without hesitation, the humans spread out, positioning themselves near critical areas of the ship. They worked quickly, barricading doors, rerouting power, and preparing to fight if necessary. The Velarans followed as best they could, but their delicate forms made them ill-suited for direct defense. The first drones arrived, small and fast, buzzing through corridors with mechanical precision. They shot energy pulses that could slice through Veleron metal with ease, but Mara and her team were ready. Using the ship's damaged structure to their advantage, they ambushed the drones, flipping panels over them, striking with makeshift weapons and using brute force to disable the machines. Lyrie watched in awe. The humans were not only strong, they were creative. They could see the environment as a tool, not just a space to occupy. Where the Velerans relied on algorithms and programmed defenses, the humans adapted in real time, exploiting every weakness. I never thought we would survive this, Irene whispered, ducking as a drone passed overhead. And yet, here they are, protecting us. Hours passed in tense, exhausting struggle. The Elysius groaned under strain as more drones attempted to breach the ship. Some drones managed to get close, but Mara and her team intercepted them with a mix of courage, improvisation, and sheer strength. One human even lifted a fallen bulkhead to crush a drone, something no Veleran could ever attempt. Finally, the last drone fell silent, sparking and smoking in a corner. The ship was quiet again, save for the hum of its restored systems. Lyrie exhaled deeply, his translucent eyes reflecting relief and admiration. We owe you our lives, he said to Mara. Mara shook her head. Don't thank me yet. There's still work to do. We need to get your ship moving before anyone else shows up, and I have a feeling that won't be the last trouble we see. The Velarans gathered at the main control room, watching as the humans worked to stabilize navigation and propulsion systems. Mara herself climbed into the pilot's chair, hands steady on the controls. Jax and Tori, two of her toughest crew members, were in the engine room, rerouting power through damaged conduits. Lyrie stepped closer, feeling both nervous and inspired. Your strength. It is not just physical. You think, adapt, respond. You survive where we would fail. Mara smiled faintly. That's the truth of it. On our world, if you can't adapt, you don't live long. That's how we got here, by learning to survive anything. And right now, survival is what we all need. As the ship slowly regained full functionality, A sudden shudder ran through the hull. The sensors picked up something massive moving in the nearby space. An enemy ship larger than anything they had faced. Lyri's fear returned, but this time, it was tempered by a new feeling. Confidence in their allies. Mara leaned over the console, analyzing the readings. Looks like they've sent a bigger force. But we have something they don't. Brains and guts. We can outthink them, and outlast them. The Valarans exchanged nervous glances, realizing the truth of Mara's words. The human's strength was more than muscle, it was courage, strategy, and the ability to act decisively when failure was not an option. With the threat looming, the humans began preparing defensive measures, setting traps and readying the ship for evasive maneuvers. The Valarans assisted where they could, following instructions and absorbing lessons in human resilience. For the first time, Lyri felt a shift inside himself. His crew had survived the storm and the drone attack, not through technology alone, but through the intervention of these strange, powerful beings. Perhaps the galaxy was not as terrifying as he had always believed. Perhaps with allies like the humans, even a fragile species could endure the worst challenges. And somewhere deep inside, Mara Kane felt a sense of respect for these delicate aliens. They were not weak. They had courage too, the courage to survive despite fear and frailty. Together, humans and Valarans formed a team stronger than either alone, ready to face whatever the universe could throw at them next. The Elysius hummed steadily now, its system stable, but the distant shadows of enemy ships loomed on the sensors. Lyri's delicate hands trembled as he watched the readings. "They are coming." "More of them," he whispered, fear etched into his face. Mara Kane leaned over the console, her dark eyes scanning the approaching fleet. "Looks like they've sent a proper strike force," she said. "But we have an advantage they don't know about. Our brains, our instincts, and our ability to use the environment to fight." The Valarans tilted their heads. "Environment?" Lyri asked. "You mean the asteroid field?" "Exactly," Mara said. "We lure them in. In tight, unstable terrain like that, machines are predictable. We are not." The humans began issuing orders, quickly assigning roles. Some would pilot smaller crafts to harass the enemy, while others reinforced the Elysius's shields and weapon systems. The Valarans, though fragile, assisted where they could, moving carefully under human guidance. "Captain," Irene said, still nervous, "we have never used combat in this way. The enemy is strong, and our machines may not withstand them." Mara's voice was calm but firm. "Machines are only part of survival. Sometimes instinct, courage, and speed matter more. Watch and learn." As the enemy fleet drew closer, the humans guided the Elysius toward a dense asteroid field nearby. Massive rocks floated in chaotic patterns, creating both obstacles and cover. The Valarans shivered at the thought. This was dangerous even for a fully operational ship. But the humans moved with confidence. "Stick to the plan," Mara instructed. "We use the asteroids to slow them down. They rely on calculations and sensors. We rely on quick thinking. They won't expect this." The first enemy ships entered the asteroid belt. Sensors showed them struggling to navigate through the moving rocks. Human pilots darted between the asteroids, using speed, agility, and intuition to stay one step ahead. The Valarans could barely comprehend the skill involved. The humans seemed to anticipate every movement before it happened. Lyri watched, amazed. They think faster than any machine. They are alive in ways we cannot measure." The enemy fired energy beams, but the humans anticipated each attack, using the asteroids as shields, redirecting their own weapons for maximum effect. One human crew member, Tori, climbed onto a damaged exterior panel to manually disable a targeting drone. Lyri's jaw dropped. Impossible. No Velaran could do that without dying. The Velaran's fear slowly turned to admiration. These humans were not reckless. They were precise, bold, and completely confident in their ability to survive. Mara Kane's leadership shone as she coordinated attacks, guided her team, and adapted to every unexpected move from the enemy. Hours passed in tense chaos. Enemy ships collided with asteroids, their calculations failing against unpredictable terrain. Humans struck where the enemy was weakest, outmaneuvering, improvising, and striking decisively. Even the Valarans began to understand the concept of instinct-based combat, something no algorithm or machine could teach. Finally, after a long, exhausting battle, the enemy fleet began retreating. Their systems were damaged, their formations broken, The humans had used the environment, their wits, and their resilience to overcome a force that outnumbered them. The Elysius floated safely in the midst of the asteroid field, intact and victorious. Lyrie exhaled deeply, his translucent eyes wide with amazement. I never thought survival could be so alive. Your species, humans. You are extraordinary. Mara gave a small, tired smile. It's not magic. It's survival. On our world, if you hesitate, you die. You adapt, you improvise, you act, and you live. That's what we just did. The Valarans nodded, slowly beginning to grasp a new understanding of the universe. Strength was not only measured by fragility or technology. It could be measured by courage, intelligence, and the willingness to act decisively under pressure. Thank you, Lyrie said sincerely. Without you, we would not have survived. Your human edge saved us. Mara shook her head. Don't thank me yet. You helped too. You trusted us, and that made all the difference. Survival is teamwork. As the fleet moved away, Mara turned to Lyrie. Now let's make sure your ship is ready for real travel. You have a long journey ahead and other dangers will come. But remember this. Sometimes the most fragile species can survive the impossible if they have the right allies and the right courage. Lyrie smiled faintly, feeling a warmth he had never known. For the first time, he realized that strength was not always visible, and survival was not always guaranteed by technology. Sometimes it came from the heart, the mind, and the will to overcome. The Valarans worked with the humans, learning quickly. They picked up techniques to reinforce their ship, manage hazards, and even adapt some human-style problem-solving skills. In these hours of cooperation, a bond formed between two very different species, one that would last far beyond this encounter, and somewhere beyond the asteroid field. Mara Kane looked back at the Elysius proud. Humans had survived countless death worlds, but saving fragile aliens in deep space had tested everything she knew. Yet she felt something rare, a sense of respect and wonder for this delicate, intelligent species. Together, they had survived the impossible. Together, they had proven that courage, resilience, and quick thinking were forces no machine or enemy could ever fully control. The Elysius floated steadily in the calm of space, its systems finally stabilized. The Valarans moved cautiously through the corridors, their fragile limbs still trembling from the adrenaline of the recent battles. Outside the ship, the debris of enemy drones drifted silently among the stars. Lyrie stood in the main control room, watching the humans prepare to leave. He felt a strange mixture of gratitude, awe, and hope. Captain Kane, he said softly, we owe you everything. Your courage, your strength, your decisions saved us. Mara Kane shook her head, brushing her dark hair back from her face. We didn't do it for thanks. We did it because it was the right thing. Survival is more than technology or intelligence. It's courage, quick thinking, and cooperation. You learned that today, just as we reminded ourselves. The Valarans looked at each other. For centuries, they had relied on machines to solve problems, believing that raw intelligence could protect them. Now, after surviving meteors, drones, and a fleet of attackers, they realized that courage and adaptability mattered just as much. Jax approached Lyrie. His broad shoulders relaxed now that the danger had passed. You have a remarkable species here. We may be strong, but your intelligence and willingness to learn make you stronger than you realize. Lyrie nodded slowly. We will never forget this. Your actions have changed how we see ourselves and the universe, perhaps. We can learn more than just survival from you. Mara smiled faintly. If you're willing, we can teach you a few things. Survival skills, strategies, even improvisation. And you can share your knowledge of your technology with us. That way we both grow stronger. The Valarans were quiet for a moment, considering. Then Lyrie spoke, his voice firm with resolve. Yes, we wish to learn. And perhaps one day we can help others as you helped us. That is the gift you have given us. Hope. The humans and Valarans spent the next hours working together, reinforcing the ship, learning from each other, and exchanging knowledge. The humans showed the Valarans techniques to strengthen their fragile frames, how to use tools in ways that required less reliance on delicate machinery, and strategies for thinking quickly under pressure. In return, the Valarans explained advanced systems, energy management, and precision engineering that humans could integrate into their ships. Both species discovered that cooperation created something neither could achieve alone. Finally, it was time for the humans to leave. Mara Kane stood on the bridge, her crew ready. Lyrie approached her, eyes reflecting a mix of gratitude and curiosity. "Will we see you again?" he asked. Mara nodded. "Perhaps. The universe is full of danger and it is vast, but if our paths cross again, I hope we will be allies. And remember, survival is not about being the strongest. It's about using your mind, your heart, and your courage. That is what makes a species truly powerful." The Velerans watched as the Iron Viper lifted off, engines glowing against the dark backdrop of space. As the humans disappeared into the distance, Lyrie felt a new sense of confidence. His crew had survived impossible dangers. They had learned from the humans' courage and strength. And now they could face the galaxy with a new understanding of what it meant to endure. "I never imagined we could survive this," Irene said quietly, his voice full of awe, "and yet here we are." "Because of them, because of humans." Lyrie nodded, feeling hope bloom inside him. "Perhaps the universe is not as frightening as we believed. Perhaps even fragile species can survive, if they learn, adapt, and have the courage to act when it matters most." The Velarans began making plans for their journey home. They would take with them the lessons learned from the humans, preparing for dangers they had never anticipated. And deep inside they carried a new perspective. That survival was not about avoiding danger, but facing it with courage, intelligence, and cooperation. Back on the Iron Viper, Mara Kane's crew reflected on the mission. Humans had faced countless death worlds, harsh environments, and deadly creatures. Yet this mission had reminded them of something fundamental. The universe was full of surprises, and sometimes, even the most delicate creatures could teach the strongest lessons. As the Iron Viper disappeared into the stars, both species knew that something had changed. The Velarans had discovered courage beyond machines, and the humans had witnessed intelligence and creativity in fragile bodies. Across the vast expanse of space, a new bond had formed, one that might alter the future of both species forever. Lyrie stood at the window, staring at the stars. "We have much to learn," he whispered. "And now, we have allies who will remind us that even in the darkest void, hope exists." Mara Kane, far away, thought the same. Humanity had survived countless challenges, but this mission proved once more that the human spirit, the courage, adaptability, and determination of Deathworlders was a force unmatched in the galaxy. The universe was vast, unpredictable, and often dangerous. But together, humans and Velerans had proven that survival was possible. And sometimes the most unexpected alliances could change everything. Hope, courage, and determination, the human edge, had left its mark on a fragile species. And somewhere far among the stars, the Velarans would never forget it.